welcome back to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We've been coming to you live from the Singapore Fintech Festival. And joining me for this segment, we have Will Chin. He's the Head of Commodities at the Singapore Exchange. We're going to talk about price discovery and benchmarks in commodities, and I suspect some ESG as well. Will, it's great to have you back with me. And
good to see you again, too. And thanks for having me.
How quick a year goes, right?
It has been indeed.
So, commodities, often an opaque industry. What are some of your thoughts when it comes to constructing a global benchmark, and where does price discovery fit into this?
So I think, a global commodity benchmark isn't just something that you shout about. It has to be something importantly ingrained in the context of physical markets. In other words, how do physical market participants use that price? So very often the very first step in seeing a commodity benchmark form is the fact that physical participants would be using that particular price in their physical contracts, the way they reference physical contracts and say I am buying or selling basis a certain price. So that is the starting point. And I think the second point to point out also with commodity benchmarks is the fact that the quality and the credibility of participants who actually participate in that price discovery process is actually very, very important, because garbage in, garbage out, and what you see as good quality institutional participation in a price discovery process usually results in a very reliable, robust price. And that, I think, is the foundation of a commodity benchmark.
What about technology and risk management commodities? Because you think of physical commodities, technology isn't the first thing that comes to mind. How is that evolving?
I think we can be here the whole day talking about the confluence of tech and business. So importantly, I think, if I were to break that down into 4 bits for you, the starting point has to be the physical market participation. So again, how do physical users in the commodities markets actually utilize technology in their business? So how do miners, for example, use technology to dig up ores from the ground in a safer, in a more efficient manner? So we are talking about driverless trains, we are talking about robotics, we are talking about vehicles which are manned by electronics, and the ability for us to deliver a piece of cargo from point A to point B in a very safe and efficient manner. I think that's the starting point of technology usage in business. And obviously, as we progress up the chain, we start talking about big data, and big data is a little bit of a passé topic now. Not many people talk about big data in the world of ESG, but importantly, big data is important in driving a lot of usage. So how do we make sense of the terabytes of raw data we have at our fingertips to make better decisions around resource allocation? And that's important in using technology to solve physical market problems. And thirdly, if we look at market price information, we live in a world today where we have market data, price information at our fingertips. So again, if you look a few years back when you have to be at your desk in order to know what the market's doing, that's no longer true today, right? The markets are moving very, very quickly. And I think the implications of that would be the ability for a participant to be able to know what's happening at a single point in time in order to make good risk management decisions. And I think ultimately, what we are trying to do in pulling all of these things together is the ability for us to build a platform that builds price discovery, that builds price information, news flows, in order for participants to, again, make better decisions and transact in a much more efficient manner. So that's one of the things that we are working on at the Singapore Exchange in order to build a market infrastructure that pulls these 4 things together.
Let's talk about China's economy and how it's spurring new ways to invest and manage risk in both commodities.
So China is an interesting topic, because again, it's one of those topics where you can spend the whole day debating on what China is doing and what the implications are. But I think importantly, there will be 2 things on my mind. The first is that as China continues to open up, it starts occupying a bigger and bigger world stage. And what that means in the context of China would be the fact that it's absolutely important for market participants to understand pricing. It's absolutely important for market participants to know what's going on. So the way we think about onshore versus offshore price discovery, right, the importance of us in providing holistic transparency around market pricing that enables participants to understand what's happening within China and what's happening outside of China. And I think the second trend that that's happening when it comes to China would be ESG. So how is China playing its role as a responsible citizen in this macroeconomy in driving increased adoption of green technology, increased policies when it comes to cutting down pollutive growth? So it's all about sustainability, it's all about green energy, and it's all about how do we do more with less, how do we look at substituting certain raw materials with more efficient ones in order to drive the same level of output, but obviously resulting in cleaner, bluer skies. And I think an important element of that would be the fact that the world economy today, we've got about half a yard of funds under management that looks at investing in commodities, and we are saying this in the context of a global fund management industry which is trillions of dollars. So as participants, as clients look to invest more of their funds into Asia, into commodities, into China, the questions to ask ourselves would be how does ESG feature as China continues to evolve in getting the visibility of some of these participants to allocate a lot more resources towards driving better sustainable growth for all of us.
All right, well, thanks so much for joining us at the
Thank you
Fintech
for having me,
Festival.
Jill.
And thank you for joining us throughout the day on Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.